Hello people, this is question time. June, I believe, in Coventry from last night, the 16th. So let's get going with the question.
Question from Rachel Birmingham, please.
Theresa May has said that we have lessons to learn after the Grenfell Tower disaster. Why haven't these lessons already been learnt?
So that tower was terrible. Estimates around the area is putting something like 150 souls passed away, sadly. I'm just to look, this public inquiry is going to be a bit of a whitewash, really, because at the end of the day, it's all about profit and money. That's the real bottom line of it, really. The way I understand it is the local council owns the block. They rent it out to private profit running housing associations. They gives the council a premium, then the housing association makes the top bit of money, and obviously when things has got to be done, they turns around to the local council and say, well, you've got to pay for this. So the local council or taxpayers puts a large lot of money in, then they leaves it to the housing association to do all the buy-in materials and all. And at the end of the day, they're going to they're going to look for things that cost the cheapest, all the materials. They ain't going to worry about it being fireproof. Their bottom line is about profit, and I suspect they're probably going to get hanged for this, and a few councillors will probably get blamed for it. But there's no question in my mind that a lot of this is the fact that the local councils hasn't got the money. They're struggling for funds, and doing big projects like making it look nice for the surrounding area, because then house prices will start going up. That's what this £10 million maintenance thing done. A lot of that money was put into making that flat look nice, not the poor people inside of it. The poor people inside of it was a nuisance. They were the pain, because all they wanted to do was make it look nice, so then it pushes up property prices. I hate property being an investment. It shouldn't be. And there's reports this morning that I've read that says there's a lot of empty flats in the wealthy area of that area, not so far away, and the government should be requesting that people could live in those houses. But then it's a knock-on effect, because investment, they didn't buy the building just to buy it because they bought it for an investment. So the government end up having to pay something like £1,000, well, probably way over £1,000 a month to house these people in those houses. And the housing benefit system was all capped, so I can't see how the government could go against that and house these people in those houses, because it's a very wealthy area. I can't remember what area it was, but yeah, there's loads of empty properties because they've been bought up by foreign investors who's only interested in the bottom line of profit. They don't care about the reason they're empty is because they cost so much money to rent. They're not empty because the investors don't want to make a return. They're empty purely because they cost so much to rent. And I can't see how the government could turn around and start housing all these people into these houses when the housing benefit cap has been capped massively. So there's no way that I can't see how that could be done. I suppose because there's a lot of pressure and all that, I'm guessing the government would find the money from somewhere, because it's a PR disaster at the moment for the government. Are they right to get the blame? Well, regulations are there to govern red tape, and it doesn't matter how you try and spin it. At the end of the day, the government has been on the record many times saying red tape costs money. that guy, the MP, Rika Smog or something like that, I can't remember his name, but he was actually in a committee and he openly said, after we leave the EU, we could massively do away with a lot of red tape. Well, red tape saves lives, and that's the reality that I'm looking at. You know, the more red tape we wiped out, the further profitable companies would go to make even more profit. Yeah, that's wrong. No, I think red tape should be strengthened in fire safety area. You know, I'm not saying what like the woman on there was saying about all the paperwork. I'm just talking about the fire safety point of view, and there should be sprinklers in all high-rise flats. It's just maddening. Even if it's just in the hallways, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the flats. Just in the hallways, at least then it would have stopped the spread of the fire. You know, just in the hallways. I hear figures of around £3,000 when it was being discussed on what is going to be done to maintain this tower block. £3,000 was the cost I heard, and they rejected it because it cost too much. Now it's a gutted out building, and you know it's finished basically. One other thing I heard from someone is, instead of going to your housing association or the council, go to the insurance company, because if the insurance company who's insuring that property actually understands that there's big fire hazards, that they will put up the premiums to make the owners, or the council or the housing association, do something. That's the weak link. So if you're in a private housing and the landlord ain't doing nothing about a safety issue, get onto the insurance. Try and find out. Obviously, the landlord's going to keep as quiet as they can because they don't want you to know the insurance. But you'll have to try and do some digging and find the insurance and tell the insurance, because then the landlord will suddenly soon change their mind. Right, yeah, it's a terrible thing to happen. It should have never happened. How much to blame is always difficult, and it's going to take years because everyone's going to fight their corner on this issue. So I'll move on to the next question now.
Have your question, Mark Hudson.
Will we now see our wibbly-wobbly leader do a U-turn over a hard Brexit?
After the...
Oh, Brexit, man. Even now, getting on for a year after the vote, the country is still divided. It creates... I only got to make one comment on my Facebook, and it just goes absolutely... It just goes mad. It goes mad very quickly. And then it just turns into tit for tat kind of thing. Soften, to be honest, I was a Remain voter, as I've said many times in these videos, and I just think it's a disaster leaving, but it is what it is, and we will leave. And you know, if we completely leave after the 2 years, the UK ain't gonna have no trade deals whatsoever. It's just like, it's madness. It's just madness. That's essentially the rules. The rules states in the EU, the country that wants to leave cannot have no discussions with any other country until we've actually left the EU. So that means we've got no trade deals when we leave the EU. And if the EU stays firm from what they've said about not signing a new trade deal because they want to get the separation thing sorted out first, which I think is a very logical thing to do. You know, you can't try it. It just makes it even more complex. If you're going to try and say, well, we want to leave this bit, but we want to stay, that just makes the whole process even more complex. This is a massive event, project, whatever you want to call it, just leaving the EU, to try and say, well, no, we don't want to leave that bit, but it's got to be a discussion on leaving the EU. Not trying to leave the EU, but then trying to negotiate a deal at the same time. That creates too much conflict, and it would be a nightmare. So I think the EU, from that point of view, of just discussing how we're going to split everything up and how we're going to separate, I think that's the best course to take. And the problem with that is, after the 2 years, we're out of the EU, we ain't got no trade deals whatsoever. How did people vote for that? I'm still totally confused about that. The UK would have, basically what it would be is within 3 months we would have to have trade deals set up, and 3 months to do a trade deal is just laughable. You ask any professional negotiator and say, well, we want a comprehensive trade deal with countries, but we need it done within 2 months. You just laugh at you. Well, that's impossible, because you've got to have all the rules stated, everything in writing to say what in the event of this or this is rules and obligations, and you can't sort that out in a very little amount of time because it's very complex. And it's just madness, really. So I don't recognise this Brexit soft and hard. It's just a spin like all the others. It's a pointless spin. Dave Cameron did say in the lead up to the vote, you've got to give this to the Brexit people, that Dave Cameron did say it means leaving everything. Dave Cameron said that, but obviously the Remainers, I'm a Remainer, but I'm not going to go along with that, because Dave Cameron actually did say leaving the single market. So is a nightmare, because at the end of the 2 years the UK could be without no trade deals, and that will cost us a lot. And this freedom of movement is just going to backfire, because when we start trading with other countries, that's going to be one of the big things that they're going to want extra on top as part of the trade deal. They're going to want some type of free access for their people to come to this country. So don't think we'll be stopping the EU and then suddenly no other country would want a special immigration deal with the UK. They will. It's chaos. It is chaos. The infighting started in the Tory party and now has spread throughout the country because of the Tory party. At a time when we all should be focusing on the debt and trying to control the debt and get the debt down. But when you make people suffer like they have with austerity, people look at it as something to blame, and the EU's got the blame because of the austerity. Even Dave Cameron didn't want the people to blame the EU for that. That's why he voted to stay in. That's why he was trying to get people to stay in. But austerity overridden him, and a larger number of people thought, well, it can't be no. No, I'm in a very bad position now because of austerity. What else could go wrong? So they voted out. They voted against Dave Cameron, who imposed nasty austerity on the country. And Theresa May's already come out and said, like he said in the video, the comedy bloke, it was a ideology choice. If austerity is over, it was a choice, a political choice, to cut the state. It wasn't a necessity. But oh well. We'll move on to the next question.
Election. Anne McMahon. Anne McMahon, please.
Have the Tories undermined their credibility by getting into bed with the DUP?
Laura Perrins.
Well, I think most people watching this would know what I'm going to say here. I think the Tory party is playing a very dangerous game to hold on to power at any level. If the violence starts back up and people start losing their life, that would be on the Tory party. There's no question about that. With what's happening now, that would be, it is making something that's unstable even more unstable. And the Tories just, Theresa May and the Tory party as a whole just don't seem to care about that. They're thinking, well, we want power, we want to stay in power. So is what I would love to see is them go like. My biggest fear is this DUP start putting their nasty views about abortion and all the other views that they've got about climate change and all that, and it'll start picking up momentum from the far right nasty side of the country, and they becomes a bigger force. Obviously they're only an island, a Northern Ireland party, and but I just think at this moment in time there's a lot of anger about, and if they've got a voice in government now, they can start spreading the extreme Christianity of their twisted views, and I think that could resonate with a lot of more people in the country, and they could get more support. I think overwhelmingly, I think people will be against them, because I can't understand why people would be against gay people. I ain't got a problem with gay people. Why would I be against someone being gay? It doesn't affect me in any way, And I just think it's people who wants to be gay but they can't because of their faith, and they hate that. So they're trying to inflict that kind of belief onto everyone else because they've got to keep it a secret. Everybody else got to keep it a secret. Do I understand why people's gay? No, it's not. I do not understand it. I find it difficult to understand, but I would never stop people doing what they want in their own personal lives. That's not my decision. That's not my choice, is it? It's not nobody's choice. It's all our choice. That's a part of living in a free country. Is we can within the rules. If it's two adults and they're happy together, I do not see a problem with it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me if it's two men or two women. It's up to them. If they're happy together and they enjoy their lives and they're happy, then I don't see how anyone could turn around and say, well, no, you two can't get married, or you two. No, it is wrong. And I think Tories' credibility in this area has took a nosedive, and I think there's a lot of secret Tories that do support the DUP's far right view on a lot of these issues. That's why they've gone into this party, and I think Theresa May deep down also do too, and that's why she's happy to get in with the DUP. But she won't say it because they've been highly trained to say what the PR people's saying. So in other words, they lie. In other words, but I'll move on to the next question.
No. Clement Bromley, please.
Yes. Can Jeremy Corbyn form a credible government if the Conservatives implode?
If the Conservatives implode.
Yet again, and this isn't really a joy, but I don't know. Jeremy Corbyn, in a negative way again, is implying, well, can he? Well, of course he can. If he gets the votes, he can. Just like anyone else. If you get enough people supporting your view and your manifesto, then you can become a leader. It makes it more complex because obviously he's going to have a coalition, and that means a coalition would most likely the Lib Dems, the SNP. I think the Greens would probably get on board, but the Greens would probably push for a more environmentally friendly, renewable action, which I think would be great. But it wouldn't be as I think the more parties you would have in such a thing, it would make it even more difficult. And you got to remember, the Labour Party is not one party. The Labour Party is still a split party with the PLP. They're keeping a bit quiet now because Jeremy's had one hell of a hit. He done a great job in getting the votes he's got. But the PLP is still there, so that's even a split party. So Jeremy would have like 3 or 4 different areas to negotiate to get things passed through government, which I think would be very difficult. And I could see by the end of the year another election quite easy. We'll move on to the next. Like I said, Jeremy could quite easily form a government, but everyday working would be very complex with the more parties you have in the coalition. I think another election would be a better option myself, to try and give one party a clear majority. The problem with that is if the public stays firm where they are, we would be in the same boat again. So, you know, and we've just got to wait and see for that. I'll get on to the next question now.
Come from Angela Dunkley, that I'd just like to end with, Mr. Dunkley. Ms. Dunkley. Ms. Dunkley.
Does the panel agree that Tim Farron has been treated very unfairly in regards to his personal religious views?
Tim Farron, of course. Question from Rachel Birmingham, please.
Tim Farron, I think definitely yes. There's no question about that. This really does pinpoint to honesty. You know, as soon as the press, the reporters, the media, as soon as they found that Tim had a lot of difficulty answering this question, they were like flies around dump, around crap. You know, they would not let it go because he was giving an honest answer to the question, and he was finding it very difficult to answer it and to say what he feels is true to his beliefs. Now, like a lot of people say, if you look at his voting history, he's been one of the first people that's separated his faith from his job, and I feel that an honest person that found it difficult to answer that question, that the media thought, oh, that's fun, we'll just keep hammering that at him, and he found it very difficult. And because he's an honest person, that shouldn't have been. That's just really bad. That's a really bad thing on what the press is doing. Is they're creating this system where you've just got to lie. Someone said to me on one of my comments that Theresa May did get asked that question, and all she said it is wrong. She just blatantly said, well, no, it's wrong, and then that was it. No one pushed her on it. No one, but that's just, you know, the Tory party is so well trained at just lying to the public. They do it without even thinking, because to them it's a game. It's not. It's a game to be in power. That they need to be in power to keep tax low, and to keep more of their money, and to keep the rules and regulations low so they can make more money. That's the only reason why they're in power. They don't care about the country at all. They don't care about making sure things are safe. And, you know, and I just think Tim was definitely an honest man who was finding it very difficult to answer a complex question, and it was phrased in a very, very nasty way, in a way. I feel if he would have just looked at it and said it was wrong, then, but I think he was a bit taken back by it, and he just couldn't get on top of it, because his faith is his personal view. The fact that he's voted in the past for gay rights should be the overwhelming thing that people are looking at. But if the media is not telling people that, and they're just concentrating on these interviews where they're pushing that type of question to him, then the public ain't going to be able to weigh it up properly, are they? And the only people that will look into it is like people who are Lib Dem supporters and people like that. You know, the majority of the country, people, they just want to be spoon-fed information. They don't want to actually go and look into it in detail and see what MPs are actually voted for. And when you look into Tim's record on voting for that area, he's overwhelmingly supported it, which I think is a credibility to himself, because he's put his religion to one side and he's actually voted as a Liberal in allowing people to have that freedom. And I think he's been really mistreated over that one question. So there's no question about that. Right, I'll leave it there, people. Until next Thursday. Thanks for watching, and until next Thursday, Tana.